Welcome to the Education Scotland podcast. In every episode, we are joined by teachers, professionals and experts to unpack some of the big questions and topics facing the education sector in Scotland. Stay informed with the latest on education in Scotland by subscribing to our podcast.
Okay, welcome everyone to this Education Scotland podcast where we're going to be talking about a pilot programme that Education Scotland are running in partnership with ITE providers across Scotland and also local authority family learning teams. So part of that pilot is we have student teachers who are placed within family learning teams, and on this occasion we're joined with 3 students from Strathclyde University who were placed within North Lanarkshire Council's family learning team. So my name's Susan. I work in Education Scotland with a specific remit for family learning, so I've been involved in coordinating this pilot, and I'm joined today by 3 of the students that were involved in the Strathclyde North Lanarkshire pilot. So I'm going to get you to introduce yourselves and then we'll just have a wee chat about your experiences.
So I'm Natalie, 4th year at Strathclyde. And yeah, we chose our specialisation this year was building partnerships with families. So that's how we sort of are doing this.
My name's Beth Mackay and I'm also a 4th year student at Strathclyde University.
And my name's Heather Wallace and I'm a 4th year primary education student at Strathclyde.
Perfect. Now, thank you very much for coming along today to do this podcast. We are delighted that you were involved, of course, but we just want to kind of get into, the experiences of that. And if I can start with yourself, Natalie, you said that you mentioned briefly about being involved in it. So can you tell us a wee bit about why you chose to be placed within a family learning team?
Yep, so we have like a pretty unique opportunity in 4th year. We get to choose one of our modules and it's sort of like a specialisation. There's different ones on offer, and this year when the list came out, there wasn't many that were jumping out to me, and then there was an email that came out that was like, we've got a new one, wasn't on the original list, and it was all about the family learning team placement, and straight away I was like, that sounds like something I'd be interested in. I'd seen a little bit of some family learning and parental engagement on my last placement, and sort of realised I wanted to get a bit more experience and learn a bit more about it. So then I thought I would try it out.
That's for me.
Yes.
Perfect. What about yourself, Beth?
I was just looking for a bit more experience of working alongside parents and getting a bit of experience talking to parents and navigating that. It was something that I was quite apprehensive about for my probation year, looking forward to my probation year next year, was parents' evenings and things like that. I didn't have much experience, having conversations with parents, so I thought that taking part in this module would give me a wee bit more of a chance to do that.
Perfect. And yourself?
I was much the same as the girls. I didn't have very much experience on my previous placements. There had been occasions where the parents would come into the classroom and do a wee bit of work beside their children, but that was only a couple of times I'd seen that happening, so I hadn't had many chances of speaking with the parents, so I was looking for that kind of learn how to have those professional conversations.
So obviously you guys were chosen to go along to North Lanarkshire, so tell us a wee bit about the experience of your first interactions with the family learning team in North Lanarkshire. So I'll maybe go this way. I'll start with yourself, Heather.
So the first day we went along to their hub, one of the community centres, and we met the family learning team and we had a conversation about all the different types of family learning, but also the kind of differences between parental involvement and engagement and learning at home. And we kind of talked about what our preconceptions of those were, and then we spoke about what they actually meant and where the differences kind of were lying.
Yes. Which is excellent because one of the things that we grapple with at a national level is we're always asked to go out and do some training around those differences. So the fact you're getting that information at the very start means that, the skills, knowledge and experience that you have when, you go out into the teaching world is going to be, very, very high in that respect. So tell us a wee bit about your first experience of meeting the team and what that felt like.
It was great. Yeah, it was interesting to see just how much the family learning team are involved in and how much they do. Didn't realise just how much of a remit they had and the different kinds of things, different kinds of classes and things that went on within the council, and things that we hadn't thought of before. Like there was groups just for dads and lots of different initiatives that we hadn't heard of before. So that was really interesting.
Perfect.
I think it was quite nice to see how they sort of all worked together and collaborated in terms of the partnerships involved.
Yes.
Because although the family learning team were doing so much, everything they were doing was linked with lots of different agencies or schools or whatever. So it was actually really good to see that sort of interagency sort of collaboration between them all.
Because we're not in it alone.
No.
And we've spoke about probably previously, obviously, off the podcast. We had a nice wee conversation before about, looked after and accommodated children, and there's so many partners that are involved in that, and it's just about knowing that, I guess, and knowing who can support you as well. So if I go back to your initial perceptions of what you thought it was going to be, was that very different from what you actually saw when you arrived in North Lanarkshire or were involved in the classes? Now I'm going to start with you, Beth, because I started with those two.
I think I kind of went into it, I didn't really have much experience. So when I got there and I saw just how, I suppose I was surprised by how relaxed and at ease a lot of the parents were with one another. We went to a Solihull session, and you could see that they'd built relationships with one another and with the staff, and it wasn't, when we went to the Solihull session, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was much more relaxed, and you could really see that they'd built those relationships and were comfortable talking about their own experiences and personal things, which was nice to see.
Which can be very difficult for some families, of course, and without those relationships that are built up by the team, that can be challenging if you're going into it cold. So it really is a testament to those relationship building experiences. So Heather, I'll go to yourself.
Well, because obviously it was like in a pilot programme, we didn't know what we were really going into. And so that first day that we met with the family learning team, they were kind of asking us, where we lived, so they could accommodate us and find groups that would be
nice.
easy for us to get into. And they were so generous, they picked me and Beth up from the train station, so we did get places. They were very good to us there. So it was obviously very beneficial for us, but we kind of went in not knowing what was going to happen or what club we would be going to or what group we would be going along to.
So obviously this is a pilot programme, so we have just a couple of local authorities we're working with at the moment, North Lanarkshire being one of them, but potentially one of the things that we can learn from it is that there is a family learning element in Inverclyde. I know you were saying, you're in Gourock and your placements in Greenock just now. So there's maybe something about us tapping into other local authorities to see if it's easier for you guys to get that experience in other local authorities. I know, well, you stay in the city now, but you are.
Right. It's my first year in the city though, so I'm usually down Ayrshire for most of my placements from first to third year. And I think it was interesting to see the Northland stuff, but it's quite hard to imagine how it works because that's what the family learning team were telling us about. Every authority can be quite different, and I think they were saying they might be one of the few that have still a quite big, separate family learning team.
Right.
I think some other councils it's sort of arranged differently in terms of
that's correct.
Numbers and stuff.
Yes.
So it was nice to see how Northland worked, but I think you're right in terms of other authorities. It would be handy to see how other people do it.
Yep. And hopefully, once we kind of roll this out, we will be able to get more voices in other local authorities for sure. So in terms of the learning experiences, what were the kind of key learning experiences that you felt you learned during this particular process? Okay, I'm going to start here again.
I think Beth was talking about our Solihull session that we went to see, and I really took a lot away from that. It was quite a small one, the one that I visited. There wasn't many parents, but what I liked to see was they were thrilled that we were there. And they were really appreciative of that sort of understanding that there's teachers or student teachers who are like eager to sort of have that relationship.
And that's the students? Sorry, not the students, the parents.
Yes. And the parents were sort of like sharing how their gratitude for the sort of programme and stuff like that. So it was interesting to actually have those conversations with parents on placement. We don't get much time or experience talking to parents at all, so it was just like nice as well out in a different context to talk to them. So I think that's sort of what I took away the most.
Okay, and what about yourself? You mentioned the dads group as well. So because for the family learning team, they'll probably have done a needs analysis to see what the needs are, and that's why the programs are so diverse. But you know, what were the kind of key?
I would agree with Natalie. I think it was really interesting to see how much it mattered to the parents that we were there, and they were happy to see us there, and it kind of took away the fear I was talking about earlier on about probation year and kind of having, you know, apprehensions about parents' evenings and things like that. Is that the parents want, most of the time, the parents want to have a relationship with the teacher. They want to hear how their child's getting on, and it matters to them that we engage with them. So I think that's one of the main things I've taken away, is that it doesn't only matter to teachers, but it matters to the parents as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, it kind of demystifies that, you know, you only see a parent when there's something wrong, you know, so it really kind of breaks down those barriers, doesn't it, at a very early stage. So, what about yourself, Heather?
What I had kind of taken away from it was how important it is for parents to learn alongside their children.
Yes.
So not just kind of learning new skills, but it's building the relationship between them. We had gone to BookBug and we'd had some conversations, and there was a grandma there who was saying that she'd love spending the time with her grandson and singing all the songs. And obviously BookBug is for building those social skills and building relationship between families. So that's something that I kind of took away, was how important that is for them to learn together.
I'm really pleased you said that, actually, because a big component of family learning is looking at the adults' learning journey as well. Because a lot of times, you know, we are seeing families that are coming in with a particular need, whether it's literacy, numeracy, maybe ESOL, whatever it is. But the adult can achieve as well alongside the child. And a lot of times for the child, it's really inspirational for them to see their parent learning as well. So I'm really pleased that you took that out of it. So that's great. And also going back to the partnerships, that's where, again, you know, the partnership was really important, because if the parent has additional needs, there's also adult learning courses that they can tap into from the college, CLD, whatever. So no, that's great that you picked that up. So in terms of, obviously, yous are still students, yous are at the end, which, the end's in sight. But how do you think this type of experience, which probably, you know, is quite different from what others will be experiencing, how do you think that's going to help you in your course? So again, we'll start with Beth, because I think we went the other way.
I think it has taken some of that anxiety away for me throughout my probation year and working with parents, but it's also kind of encouraged me to go beyond that and hopefully include parents and bring them into the class and do some, you know, family learning within the class. In my placement school that I'm in at the moment, there's a homework club that runs on a Tuesday after school for parents to go to with their children, and the teachers go and they can support them to help their children complete their homework, and I'll be keen to get involved in that this year as well.
Perfect. Okay, Natalie?
I think it's sort of nice to see strategies that work with a council, for example, the family learning team in North Lanarkshire. We were seeing experiences outside of school, which at first I was like, oh, it would have been nice to see in-school experiences, but it was good to see the difference in sort of how you can implement things that they're doing into like a sort of school environment, and things like the way that the relationships that the family learning team had with the parents, and the sort of low stakes conversation, simple, like I think they were telling us, I don't know about you girls, but they always start with, would anyone like a coffee or tea?
Yes.
And it's just that 5 minutes before the session starts, just building relationships, chatting about their week, because as well for the parents it's like it's a time for them to catch up and stuff. And so it was nice to see that the parents felt valued in that sense, and that it didn't need to be this like, okay, we're here for this session and we're learning this and this. It was about the whole interaction and that sort of thing. So that was really good to sort of go into probation knowing that you can have low stakes conversations with parents, and it doesn't, like you were saying, it can be positive. It doesn't need to be, I've been phoned into the school, what's gone on,
immediately get the arm on.
So that was sort of a takeaway.
Heather?
For me, early on in the kind of project or the module, we were talking about assumptions that parents might have and that teachers might have. So some teachers might be kind of reluctant to plan any sort of like kind of pal events or bringing the parents in because they think parents aren't going to come, or it's maybe the same parents that don't come. But then when we were talking to the family learning team, they were saying, well, some parents might not be able to afford to come in, or they've got childcare issues, they can't get in, or they might have their own kind of negative experiences with school. So it's kind of our job to build a relationship with the parents as much as we're building with the children, and then encourage them to come in, and they know it's a safe space for them too.
Absolutely. Identifying the barriers, breaking down those barriers and getting them in. Because, we talk about families being hard to reach. Not really, we know where they are, but we need to find out why they're not, what is the barrier that's stopping them from coming in, and it is those relationships, just talking to them and finding out what it is, and how do we resolve that, is it within our gift, or is it within a partner's gift, or what is it we need to do? So that's great. North Lanarkshire were great, great teachers. Okay, so is there any advice that you would like to pass on to future students? Top tips, or, if they're thinking about this as a placement, would you encourage them to do it? So I'm going to start with Heather.
I would definitely say get involved, like in your own placement, get involved as much as you can. If there are parents' nights on, ask if you can go along. And I know not every school allows that, but even if you can stand at the door and have conversations with the parents instead of sitting at the table, meeting people at the gate is another great way to get to know the child, and chatting with their parents at the school gate. I think placement's kind of what you make of it. So getting involved in extra things is going to be beneficial.
And if there is an opportunity for future students to be placed within a family learning team, would you say yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, Beth, what about your advice to future students? What would it be?
I would say that if the opportunity were to arise, they should get involved in this project again. It was really beneficial. It definitely, you start to think about things that you hadn't really thought about before, and then my attitudes have changed. So I would definitely say to get involved in it. It was definitely worthwhile.
Perfect. That's 2 yeses. No pressure. No pressure.
Absolutely. Definitely 100%. I think taking the experience, like Beth's saying, and getting a different perspective and seeing it sort of through a different lens means you can sort of do what Heather's talking about, and take that into your placement and make it the best you can. And it gives you that sort of confidence in yourself that you can then do it in placement, because it is daunting to go to those sort of extra experiences. And even if it's like, I don't know, Christmas fair, all the families are there, and you're sort of, I remember with my primary 7s, I was behind the stall with my P7s, but the parents don't really know that I was even in the class properly if the children hadn't told them. So it can be daunting, and you sort of don't know your place. But from the experience, just building my own confidence, it means that in placement you can sort of take that extra step.
We're all in it together.
Exactly.
You know, and that's probably a good takeaway as well. Now, I know we've spoken a lot about what you guys got from the experience and being with the North Lanarkshire team, but we also spoke to them just to find out what they thought about the experience, and they loved having you guys there. They really did. And they said that, you know, they might have learned a lot from us, but we also learned a lot from them as well. So it was a really it was a really great reciprocal experience, I think, for everybody involved. So we're probably going to come to the end of the podcast, but is there anything else that you think you would want to say to listeners that are listening to the podcast today?
I think just take every opportunity that you can, make the most of it, because it's going to be no harm. You're only going to gain something from it.
We're not going to the Coliseum.
No,
right?
it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's only going to be positive.
Yes.
I hope. So yeah, definitely take what you can, and if you can't do a placement, for example, like we did, taking those little opportunities in your own school placements and stuff, definitely make the most of those.
Yeah. That was a lot of nodding there, in case you're just listening to us. Okay, well, I just want to thank you guys for being part of this. You've really helped us a lot to be able to move forward in this pilot that we're running. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
I'm pretty sure I'll probably see you in the future. And thanks everyone for listening to this Education Scotland podcast.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for notification of when a new episode is published. If there is a topic you would like to hear featured on this podcast, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on our social media channels for all the latest news from Education Scotland. Education Scotland is a Scottish Government executive agency charged with supporting quality and improvement in Scottish education.